This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us on WZRD via Zoom, Dantès. Hi, Dantès. How are you today?
Good morning, Chicagoland. Good morning, Miss Wizard. I am well.
We recently had some sad news, and then you had some personal sad news, but I know that you wanted to speak with us about what your mom was doing concerning uh, helping people with HIV.
Yeah. It's been a very, very rough, um, gosh, time flies, month, I think now at this point. Um, for those of you who don't know, also the She's a Lady EP is out today. Well, actually out as of Friday, and this EP is dedicated to her marvelous memory. And you're right, of course, Miss Wizard. Um, my mother was a longtime peer coordinator, HIV peer coordinator for South Shore Hospital on the south side of Chicago for many, many, many years. So primarily her work dealt with the public. She was responsible for making sure that patients of the clinic got to, their appointments. She also made sure that they had transportation. She set up groups as well, communal groups, support groups for everyone. Um, Case in point, if you're someone who may be struggling with a diagnosis, you could, go and meet with her and have a group, and they would help you come to terms with that diagnosis. So she was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And this EP, this four-song EP, is definitely dedicated to her memory.
The thing is that you wrote this and even produced it before, before she passed away. So when you were producing it, did you have your mother in mind when you were writing the song and producing the She's a Lady?
Well, originally, when I decided to tackle She's a Lady, it's Tom Jones's record, by the way, everyone.
Hmm.
Um, that song has always really had a somewhat of a special place in my heart, just because of the symbolic nature of it within the gay community, but also within the sisterhood of being a woman. There is strength in that song. And it's just always been very important to me. And I didn't really have it in mind to be a piece that would be dedicated to my mother. It just happened that way. I didn't produce this record. This record is produced by my longtime collaborators now, Funk Investigation and Hinka. Um, Everything, unfortunately, just seemed to come together that way to be a album that would be a dedication to someone's memory. So I'm just happy and pleased that um, time and space allowed it to happen the way that it did.
Did your mother like to listen to She's a Lady?
Oh my gosh, my mother was very eclectic, a very eclectic woman. She listened to Tom Jones. I was actually listening to some of the last records that she listened to, and one of the last records actually that she listened to was New Jack City, my album.
Mhm.
But she listened to Tom Jones a lot. She loved Tom Jones. She was a big fan of country western music. I don't think even a lot of my family members even know that my mother was a big fan of country western music. I take a lot of my musical know-how from her, even though she never really had a musical bone in her body. Um, she just always knew good music. So
Did you get your love of music from your mother?
I definitely got my love of music, I think, from my mother. I think more than anything, though, what I probably got from her was probably her sense of self and sense of style. That's something I think I've actually had to grow into as I've continued to go down this path of adulthood. Just being comfortable with experimenting, with different, um, hairstyles, colors, lengths, different types of clothes. So I think all of that, in addition to my love for music, definitely came from her. It definitely did. I chuckle a lot about my relationship to music with my mother. She was always my biggest supporter and champion.
Did your mother give you advice about any comments or advice about such as style, like you said, hairstyle, clothing, etc.?
I want to share something with Chicagoland. I learned so much from my mother, just in terms of presentation. Um, Everything that it takes to be in front of the camera. I learned all of those things from her. She was very much a lady in the traditional sense. You would not catch my mother outside without a face full of makeup. She had to have her makeup, she had her bags, and she had her hair. She was definitely a woman who liked to smell good, who liked to dress good. So I take a lot of those things from her inadvertently, even though, we grow up and we try so hard to not be like our parents, but they always tend to rub off on us, don't they?
Yes. Uh, did when you have a song out and then do you ask your mom to listen to it like any rough copies before the final copy, or does your mom did your mom uh, get only the final copy when she listened to your songs?
That's a good question. Um, I'm actually thinking now because I have to think back. I think when I first started recording, I always let her hear everything in the middle stages. But just as time sort of progressed, music was just starting to come out so frequently that, in the end, she just started, getting the final product. She was not really able to listen to this She's a Lady EP, which is unfortunate. But I no doubt know that she would have loved it and would have appreciated the different textures. We, of course, went with four different directions, for people to consume it. We have the radio edit, we have our club mix, the funky touch mix. It's very hard for me to listen to this record without getting emotional. It's so hard, and I don't really listen to my music very often, but this album, this EP, specifically the laid back mix of this EP that actually comes out next month. It's very, very emotional. Um, just because, the first lady that, we all have a relationship with is our mother. And she always sets the tone and the stage for the type of, people that we will be, or even the type of woman that we will marry, or vice versa. So it's so hard for me to listen to this record without, being extremely emotional. But I think she would have liked to have heard it.
Well, it seems as what you're telling us, your mom was every bit the lady. When you when you in the beginning you would send your mom the rougher cuts, but at later you didn't feel you need to. Was that on account of you gaining confidence about your sound and your style, about who you are, and then you really didn't need extra advice anymore?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You get to the point where you sort of fly the nest, if it were, and you don't really need as much, advice or even approval of, you just grow into the confidence that you're supposed to have. And I think that is what really happened. I would get a lot of encouragement, when new projects would come out. In fact, the last message that I got from her was about the Whirlpool Cubico remix and how it was causing her truck to rattle because of the bass. So, so I really, really wanted her to always be a part of it. But as you get busy, you start working and so.
So did you change the base at all, or just left it as it was?
Oh no, of course we left it as it we left it as it was. Whirlpool Cubicle Remix is still
Mhm.
as it was and as it is. Hmm.
Mhm. Did your mom ever give you some advice about your music that made you change something in it?
No, actually, I no. In fact, I was always encouraged to try new things and explore different sounds. Um, for example, on the Sixth Dimension record from the New Jack City project, which actually just celebrated its 2-year anniversary last week. But there's a portion of that record that samples the Fifth Dimension Age of Aquarius, and that little bit actually was sort of influenced by my mother because we always loved that song. The Age of She was an Aquarius too,
Mhm.
so she really liked that song. But she sort of influenced that that sample. So when I was able to get clearance on that, she was very very happy. So.
Mhm. So juxtaposing the fifth dimension with into that made the song better, would you say?
I actually think it did. I don't think the record would still have the potency if it didn't feature that juxtaposition. Hmm.
Hmm. Well, maybe your mom saw that and she gave you the suggestion, like not asking you to like change it, but suggesting it instead, and then leaving it up to you whether the suggestion would work out.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
What would you say is the most important thing that your mom taught you that helped you in your career?
Wow, that's a very hard question. It's a very hard question. I think the most important thing that my mother taught me with regard to my career is to never be afraid. Um, I was always told by her that there is only one person that can judge you, and that's God. And and if no one is paying your bills, then pay them no mind. So, um, and that's something I think that we all grow to learn. Eventually at some point. But that for me has always been the bell in the back of my head.
Hmm. How did your mom start working with HIV, with being that getting that job, being the peer coordinator at the hospital?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, my mother had been working in the community for quite some time. Um, she started actually, I believe, she started actually as a volunteer going to a lot of the uh, gay clubs here in Chicago to hand out condoms and information in regard to PrEP.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she had been doing that for many, many years and, had met, many, many legendary drag queens here in Chicago, like Miss Ruff and stuff, and a slew of other people. But she was very, very, very adamant about trying to ensure that um, people of color specifically had access to treatments and education to prevent, the scourge of, HIV and AIDS. which still to this day has not gotten the attention that it deserves. We've sort of been sidelined by COVID and everything else. And we've created all of these vaccines for those issues, but we are now, I believe, what, 45, close to 45 years now dealing with the AIDS virus. So hopefully we will have a cure for those things, at least within our lifetime. Hopefully, it's certainly definitely possible if we turned out one for COVID within, I believe, what, 6 months. So, but that's how she got her start. Um, and she became friends with the administrator of South Shore Hospital, and they became close friends. And she would go out into the community and represent the hospital, and that's how she started. Um, she saved many lives. I can definitely say that. Changed a lot of perspectives. Just an amazing, uh, selfless woman, even until the end. Mhm.
I wish I would have been able to have her on as an interviewee. That would have been such a great interview. So much to learn from her. But when did she share with you what was the most difficult thing about her job? Trying to you know, oh, she had this passion to help people get the information, get the treatment to people of color. What what was most difficult? There were probably a lot of difficulties, but what was most difficult for her?
I think the difficulty that she always had doing that job was just the lack of trust for the government, and unfortunately, in we're just going to be frank here, and in communities of color, there has been a very stressed relationship between the community and the government, all the way back to Tuskegee, the Japanese internment camps. We have bad history with the government.
Mhm.
So that was always a struggle for her to, try and breach that barrier so people can understand that, you do a you things are a little different now, and B, you do need, access to these services to, to help you on your journey. So it was always something I think that she encountered as she did her work.
Did she share with you any stories about how she was able to help her clients overcome that lack of trust?
I was privileged enough to see her work,
Mhm.
firsthand. Not only in the community, but also in her own family. So I didn't need to see her work, with the community so much, but um, she, I mean, she literally, uh, kept office hours, when she, worked for the hospital. She was just always very adamant, about that. She was not a caseworker, but she knew more about, HIV and AIDS than a caseworker would. So she did very good work, and I'm very proud, um, of the legacy that she has left behind. Um, However, there have been um, unacknowledgments by certain people to include that in her memory, and that is why I am here, um, just to remind people and those individuals that not only is she someone, but her work touched many lives.
Mhm. And how long was she working to help people and as a volunteer and as an employee?
To be completely honest with you, my mother probably still would be working there, had she not had consistent health issues over the last 20 years. My mother worked there and worked for Leslie at South Shore Hospital for about close to 10 years. I want to say maybe about 9.5 years that she was in that position. Um, I mean, she single-handedly was responsible for ensuring that the clinic actually had a doctor to see patients.
Mm. Mhm.
She did excellent work. So his name was Dr. Parks. Um, if he's listening, hello to him. But he wouldn't be there if it were not for my mother. So she did great work, and I'm just proud to have had her and have had her influence in my life and through my music, and that's why I'm going to donate 5% of all of my royalties to the AIDS Foundation of Chicago in my mother's memory. So that's what was important to her. Her work was centered around that. She did unfortunately pass away from some, health related complications related to cancer, but her life and her work was devoted to HIV, AIDS awareness, prevention, and outreach.
Mhm. And the doctor that you mentioned that she helped bring to the clinic, is the clinic South Shore Hospital, or is there another clinic that your mom also worked at?
Well, the clinic was just South Shore Hospital. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so there was a, in other words, there was a, th there was no doctor there, or there was no doctor for AIDS patient there.
Correct. So my mother helped facilitate the introduction to the doctor and vice versa. So he started actually coming, every week. So, and that was why her job was so difficult because the doctor only came once a week. So she had to make sure that all of those patients that he saw got to their appointments, had transportation, had linkage to, care, be it housing resources, food resources, clothing resources, even furniture resources. That was her job.
Mhm.
Many people have been touched by Miss Katrina Page.
Was it so it was furniture and housing too, resources, right? That
Absolutely.
you helped with.
Hmm.
But there
Hmm.
must have been a lot of people that needed help. Was your mom like the head of a team that she created, or was she just single-handedly doing all this by herself? There should be so many people that need her help.
Well, there was another woman that she worked with, um, but primarily my mother's personality is what ensured that people came to the clinic.
Mhm. And she must be quite a networker like you. How did she, do you know how she met the doctor, Dr. Parks?
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, my mother was very, 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 very outgoing and friendly person. Speaking with people just came naturally to her. Everyone was a sugar honey baby, iced tea, etc. She was just, full of life and full of love.
And do you know if South Shore Hospital has anybody that's doing your mom's work now? Well, in the last 10 years that she wasn't there, did they continue her legacy while when she was no longer working there?
Well, when she did leave, of course, she was given a great, fabulous party, and but yes, there's someone else I'm sure in that role now. In fact, the clinic might actually no longer be a standalone facility. It might be a part of South Shore Hospital directly at this point. I'm not sure because I don't live in the community over there anymore. So,
Mhm. And when your mom stopped working there, did she what were her interests like? Did she was she still in some way, even though she wasn't working, was she still helping the HIV community?
oh my gosh, yes, without a doubt.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Um, so many patients and clients of hers would call my mother. I'm just going to say her name, Katrina.
Mhm.
Um, so many of them would call Katrina to ask for help filling out applications for Ryan White assistance, and for those of you out there in Chicagoland who don't know what Ryan White assistance is, or Ryan White. Ryan White is was a brave child, the first child, at least publicly, to be diagnosed with HIV through a blood transfusion in the 80s. And he passed away in the early 90s, I believe. He lived until 18. But we are now able to take advantage of a bill that was made in his honor to have costs decreased for medication for HIV and AIDS patients. And my mother always did a lot of work outside of the clinic in private at home to help people, make sure that they could continue to get that benefit through Medicaid. So,
So they had to occasionally reapply and get evaluated again to see if
yeah,
they
yeah.
qualify based on like
Hmm.
income, etc.
Yeah. It was, very difficult, very, very meaty stuff. Um, and she spent a lot of her time doing those applications for people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is because I think we recently did a new segment about Medicaid. Now people have to recertify, and it's like it was mentioned that it's like doing your taxes, and it's imagine your mom helping these people, every one of them, and it's like helping them with their taxes. Uh, it's quite a load on her shoulders, but but she loved doing it, right?
she loved doing it. Like I said, my mother, she had files and files and files in her own personal home of just every resource that one could need. I mean, she really was that person. Um, and I know for a fact that there are a lot of individuals who are alive today who would not be here if it were not for my mother's work and um, South Shore's work. So.
So now, since your mom is not there to help these people, they'll still be needing someone to help them. If they're not able to call your mother, do you know if they're able to reach someone else in their time of need?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that there's places and resources for them to call. Um, it's just very difficult, for people. It's like having a relationship with your primary care doctor. This is someone that you tell all of your secrets and all of those things. So I'm sure it'll be a challenge for, all of her, former clients and slash friends, but they'll be able to get the help that they need.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a challenge for a lot of people, with the such as for the Medicaid recertification, and then this has been they had to be recertified for Ryan White's assistance throughout the pandemic, right? And even
Yeah.
during the pandemic and after the pandemic, things did not change for them, did it?
No, no. In fact, like with Medicaid, they were not doing any.
Oh,
I'm sorry, my give me a second here. I'm trying to process what I'm trying to say. They weren't actually evaluating anyone at that time.
see.
So similar to like what they're doing with Medicaid. So now they're requiring people to, resubmit and recertify for all of those things as well.
Mhm. Well, that is, do you have anything else like to share with us to concerning your She's a Lady, and we will play it shortly after this interview, but anything else like any important dates, anything to else to share with us, and if listeners also want to learn more, how would they be able to contact you?
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Wizard. It's actually going to be a very busy week for me. So I'm doing the press circuit now in support of She's a Lady. So today I am with my lovely Chicago family, virtually anyhow. Tomorrow I will be on the Then Is Now podcast. I'm not sure when that will be airing. That is hosted by Roger Furline Jr. Lovely show. You guys go check that out. The Then Is Now podcast. And then Wednesday, I'll be on Urban Expressions with Shelly Shell Williams, Philly's Oprah. I'm excited to be on her show. Have the music video coming out at the end of the month. We obviously had to wait and pivot and because my mother unfortunately passed away. So we'll be shooting a video for the Laid Back mix, which actually comes out next month. That's not on this She's a Lady EP. This EP only has 4 songs. So you guys will be listening to the radio edit. And I just want to thank all of you for your continued love and support over this journey. It has been a very, very rough month. I cannot believe it has been a month since my sweet mother Katrina has left. Time is so valuable to all of us. I would like to encourage everyone out there to kiss and hug your mother, your father, your uncle, your brother. Even if you are estranged, reach out, let them know that the door is open and you love them, and love your neighbor, everyone.
Did you have the dedication earlier, or it was after your mom passed, and then you decided to dedicate She's a Lady to your mom?
After she passed, I
Mhm.
knew that it was intended for this
Mhm.
EP to be for her memory.
Mhm. And if our listeners want to donate toward the AIDS Foundation, Chicago AIDS Foundation, right? In your mother's memory, how would they be able to do that?
So I will actually put a link on my Facebook page. So if you guys want to donate or check me out and learn any more information about me, you can just Google Dantès Alexander. Same thing on Facebook, Dantès Alexander. Same thing on Instagram, Dantès Alexander. There will be a link there for donating to the AIDS Foundation of Chicago. Like I mentioned, I'll be donating 5% of all proceeds from the She's a Lady EP to the AIDS Foundation of Chicago in my mother's memory. It's very important work. COVID has taken the spotlight away from another killer that has been killing people much longer than COVID has. And I want us to return the spotlight to that.
Mhm. Okay, Dantes, thank you so much. We wish you the very best. Uh, best of luck for your next project, and hopefully you take good care of yourself now. And we'll talk again in the future.
Thank you so much. God bless you all, Chicagoland.
Thank you, Dantes. Have a good one.